Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to our first town hall, which we're calling version 0.1 since there will be some things that we have to work through. In each town hall, we're basically just trying to do a little bit of Q&A, get to know everyone that's using FusionAuth, break down the news for you, what's happening in FusionAuth. Hopefully there's some more conferences coming up in the future and things like that that we can talk about. So without further ado, we'll jump right into the kind of release information. We're just going to get used to this. It's a little bit of an older release. We have a newer one coming up pretty soon. So without further ado, I'll show you how to go and fetch that. So here we have our FusionAuth homepage, and I always want to show people how to get to the different locations within that. So if we come into the navigation bar up here and you go to developers, you can actually go to our documentation. And this might change in the future. We're working on a lot of new doc updates, and we're switching over to Astro on many of our different sites and pages and things like that. So it's a lot of fun and stuff going on in the background here. So after you get there, if you go to the doc categories, technical docs, you'll see this navigation on the left over here. You can actually go down to our release notes to find what has been updated. And you can, of course, subscribe to our RSS feed for this if you want to find all of those notes in the future. So as I scroll down, our last major release was back in July, and it's been updated just slightly after that to 1.47.1. There's a lot in here to read through, but the TLDR, if you will. So we have new IP location database handling, improved Kafka event handling, more efficient caching, better performance metrics, CSRF support and federated auth. And then down on the SAML list, we have encrypted assertions, configurable login hints, and better signature handling. So all of those are really exciting. So each time I'll try to go through that release with everyone. In case you have questions, feel free to hit them up in the comments, and I'd be happy to answer those. The easiest way to do comments for back and forth is on YouTube. If you're watching this on a different platform, feel free to ping me or jump over there, either way. So I'm going to jump into next our different blogs. So again, I have them open on these tabs in case I get lost up here, but if I go back to our home page, you can actually get to our different information and articles that we have out here from this navigation point. So if you go through company, you can find resources, FusionAuth blog, and this will take you into all of our latest blog posts. The first one I want to talk about, which is currently ongoing, is the one that I am actually running right now. It's part of Hacktoberfest. If you haven't heard about Hacktoberfest, it's a really cool project that DigitalOcean has put together each year. They used to give away t-shirts, which became a lot. Like there's a lot of t-shirt giving away. However, if you complete 4 merge requests, you actually get to plant a tree. So I was actually able to do this already, and I'll show you a little bit more about that and show you kind of where ours are at. So the first thing I want to show you there is the registration for Hacktoberfest. So if you pop out here, you can authorize with your GitHub or GitLab account. And then the participation breakdown, make sure you read through this and what it takes through there. At the end of this, what you're actually going to get, and I'll show you on my GitHub page. So if I go out to GitHub, CoderCatDev, you'll see all of these stickers. So you end up getting these Halopin achievements, and I have some out here from last year's Hacktoberfest, and then on the right over here are the new ones for the current Hacktoberfest. It's been really cool to see that go through. Let me see if you know what, that's on my other account, so I can't show you exactly all the way to dive into those, but trust me, it's neat to get these different stickers and actually update those. So back to our list of Hacktoberfest. If you want to get involved in it, you can come out to the contributing section. If you click on this full issue search, this has all of the different Hacktoberfest that options for FusionAuth. So you'll see here, there's a lot of different issues, mainly in our JavaScript repos. We have over 200 repositories that we actively support. and kind of need to update constantly. So a lot of help from the community is really appreciated on that stuff, especially if you're passionate about a certain subject. Like the one that we'll be going through today is Next.js. So if you are curious about updating Next.js, go ahead and check that out in there. And that's the full list. Not just us. So there's a ton of different people participating. We'd love for you to update our repo, but just seeing people participate in the Hacktoberfest is going to be really incredible this year. So check that out. The other blog I want to talk about is one of our latest, Dan Moore, who is my boss, one of the DevRels here at FusionAuth, wrote this sweet blog about anonymous user flow, which is anonymous login is why I always end up calling it. Essentially, what you can do in your different applications is instead of asking for that traditional like email and password, you can actually assign a user just an anonymous string, which is down in here. So you can assign them something like this and then actually register them to your application as if they were a user at that point. You can store that off into a JOT and pass that around. So definitely check out this. It's a decent read for how to do it within the FusionAuth system, if that's something that you would like to, update on. Aaron, how's it going, Aaron? Love the Woohoo Hacktoberfest. I know there's a bit of a delay out there, so thank you for that. I hope you join us in it. The next blog that I want to talk about, FusionAuth was named a customer identity high performer for fall of 2023, which sounds super specific, fall of 2023. But actually it's, we kind of get this high performer award quite a bit. And specifically in Denver, we're one of the best companies that are running. We're a remote company, so I'm actually out of Michigan, but we win that award based on where our headquarters is. So you can read all about why that devs love this, why they love our solution, and why you can get into it, and how easy it is to use. This I've been blown away with. So we've been talking a lot internally, kind of on how to use Kubernetes across and use FusionAuth in that. This is a pretty cool like one-click install that is approved by DigitalOcean. So you can run FusionAuth directly on DigitalOcean. This article, this guide, what it goes through is actually spinning up so that you end up with clustered Kubernetes setup. And I'm not a Kubernetes expert, so if I use any of these words incorrectly, I apologize in advance. But basically what you get is 3 nodes out there. So it's pretty nice setup for a production application. Of course, you can always, kind of continue adding to that within the Kubernetes system and go from there. Pretty cool. One click. You can go through all of the different monitoring, everything else. If you're used to running Kubernetes, this should be super straightforward. I actually did this whole article in like 25 minutes last night and got it up and running on DigitalOcean. So it's a pretty neat way to start off if you haven't done it. Of course, if you want to try it out, you can always do it locally. So if you go to FusionAuth and you go to download, this is a great way to get started on how to self-host or just kick the tires and try things out. So in the Docker world, if you have Docker running, it's super simple. I've tried it with Docker and Homebrew on Mac. Both of them are really straightforward. The cool part, if you do this, and I did this before I was an employee at FusionAuth, you can follow the 5-minute guides and you can get some free swag. So the old Cat Etsy, if you can see my shirt I wore today, the Cat Etsy password shirt, it's pretty sweet. It's a very soft, by the way, if you ever would like to check that out. So definitely install it. You send us a picture and you get a shirt and maybe some more stuff. I don't know if we include more now or not, but definitely check into this. I did just update our 5-minute guide FastPath with a new little video for setting up FusionAuth. So check that out as well. Might be the fastest way that you can get into FusionAuth to try it out. Okay, let me check my notes. I think we've covered the news, we've covered the releases, we've covered the blog, and I think we're going to jump into demo. for Next.js. If anyone has any questions, feel free again to hit me up on YouTube there. Let me go poke around for 2 seconds on LinkedIn to make sure we don't have any other questions. It looks like we're doing okay. Sweet. All right. So I am going to jump into our quick start that we have. And again, I want to show you how to get rolling with that. So from our homepage, you go to developers, documentation. The easiest way to get to our quick starts are through these start building your application, and it'll drive you directly to them. For us, we're going to build a web application. So if I click on our web apps, we will see the Next.js quick start right here. So without going through this, since I wrote this guide, I'm just going to show you just in VS Code how to get up and running. And then we can kind of walk through different parts of this. And if there's any questions about it and you're following along, feel free to ask me and we'll continue to build it out. So switching over to code view. So here what I have is the GitHub. I cloned the GitHub repo. Can't talk today. The GitHub repo I cloned and pulled down. And basically what we have in here in this file structure is a complete application. That's kind of the key. That's the Next.js application. We have a kickstart, and I'm going to talk a minute about this kickstart, but I want to start off with our Docker Compose file. So that Docker Compose file, if we take a look at it here, what this is made up of is a Postgres, and there's some internal discussion on how far we want to update these Postgres. So stay tuned if you're like, whoa, you're on Postgres 12. We're getting there. We might update a lot of these. So bear with us. So it also comes with a Elasticsearch that's kind of built into this Docker Compose file. And then the core for FusionAuth is also this FusionAuth app at the latest that we have. So in order to run our FusionAuth instance, what I'm going to do is just bring up the terminal, and I'm going to do Docker Compose. And of course, you have to have Docker running at this point if you haven't done that, but Docker Desktop takes care of it, no problem. So Docker Compose up. I usually do -d so I don't have to watch it all, but because I want to show you how this kickstart works, what I'm going to do is run it just like this. I shut down Docker earlier. Sorry. Give me 2 seconds. We'll get that rolling. Hopefully we're good. Let's try that again. All right. So as we're watching this, there's one key crucial part that we're going to see come up. We'll actually see, let me kind of minimize some things here. So you saw this part, that's the first key. Once everything starts up and running, you'll see starting FusionAuth and the version that you're on and everything like that. So that's the latest version. The next part is almost like an automated API workflow, if you will. That's the way I kind of think of it. So when you go through this kickstarting phase, it's going to execute these different post calls as if you're like an admin. So you're like a secured person. What does that actually do? So I'm going to jump into our Kickstart and show those off. So let's take a look here. So we have some variables at the very top, and then we have these requests. And what these are basically doing for us is setting up our application. Excuse me. An application is a term. It's not the Next.js app. It's an application within FusionAuth, and I'll show you that in just a moment. And so we have the application set up. We are registering a new user. And then a couple different users, an admin user, and then a user for our application itself. And the other cool thing is you can theme all of FusionAuth instance. So you'll see we actually changed it to a change bank, and I'll show you that once we log in. So I'm going to switch back over to the browser here. So I'm going to dial up because that's up and running. All these fun Brave pictures when they come up. Little cat. Anyways, so here's our change bank theming. So you can take this pretty far. So when I click the login over here, now my instance, it's fully ready to go. I already have an admin user. And typically when you first get started with FusionAuth, you won't always have those. but it didn't show up. How hard are the issues that are available for Hacktoberfest? Okay, so great question. Let me bounce back to this question really quick. So Dan, thank you for the softball question. He's asking how hard the issues are for Hacktoberfest. I made them as simple as possible because I love people just using and doing Hacktoberfest, right? So when I take a look at these issues, if I go open our full issue list again, you'll notice all of these are like update dependencies or update a README with broken links. None of these are difficult at all. However, every single one of our repos that we have out here also have the tag. So if I go into, let's say, our view web, right? And you're in here messing around and you're like, oh, I can knock out this, get this dependencies updated really quickly. um, Perfect. You already did one merge, but let's say you wanted to update or add or do something. If I take and look at the overall repo, we also have the Hacktoberfest at the top level repo itself. So you can also create an issue, and if we deem like, oh yeah, that's great for Hacktoberfest, we can actually label the issue then, and when it merges in, you'll get credit for it. So that's exactly how it works. And let me know if you have any issues or you're not getting your credits. Feel free to ping me within the issue itself, and I'll get that straightened out for you. Great question, Dan. Thank you. Okay, jumping back. Sorry for bouncing around a little bit there. So we'll go back into the code over here. So yeah, sorry, we kickstarted the whole thing, and now I was on the browser part. Sorry. So So in this browser, typically this is very generic and it looks like FusionAuth. But right now, like if you were Change Bank, the application, and we have a funny video on all of our kickstarts about what Change Bank is, check it out. It's a little SNL thing. When you go to log in here, what I'm going to log in first is admin@example.com, and our super secure password is password. So here you open up to the main dashboard. Now this is me as an admin, just looking at this. And the reason I logged in this way, I want to show you kind of the different users and things that are set up. So here's our example application that's sitting in here, the example node app, which we should probably update to Next.js app, but some of our kickstarts are all repetitive. So we should just call it Kickstart app. Maybe I should take that as a takeaway. So once you're in here, this is the application that we actually created within our Kickstart. So if you see in here this application ID, it actually matches this application. So I didn't have to do that manual work and go in and set everything up manually. That's what our Kickstart was doing, which is really amazing, especially if you're in like a testing environment or a QA environment. You can run these quick starts and bring up and pull down Docker instances left and right. So it's really amazing. So yeah, applications in there. Our users that we created are also in here. So you can see our admin at example.com. And the one that we'll end up logging in with is Richard at example.com. So let me go ahead. I'll log out of our backend instance. And I'm going to jump back up into the code and kind of show you a little bit more about this. So at the end of the day, what we just did was we brought up our FusionAuth instance. It kickstarted, all those apps are going. And now let's take a look at the Next.js app itself. So if I jump into our complete application, so this is a fully working Next.js app. We actually walk you through our quick starts, how to do this from scratch. I'm just going to show you the different parts and pieces. Probably the biggest piece for this application is in, so I wrote this on 13, which is the app version, not the pages version if you're used to Next.js. Within this, you can actually go see the API auth next auth route. We are one of the providers that are automatically built out for next auth.js. So let me bring that up real quick. So if I show you this, this is what we're actually using for the authentication within Next.js. So this is nextauth.js. If you go into their documentation, it'll tell you how to implement this within Next.js, all the great parts and pieces of it. If you click on providers here, you'll see a ton of different ones. So we could add Apple, we could add Auth0, we could add all of these. What we're looking for is our FusionAuth one. And of course, here's all the docs for that. So that's how you implement the FusionAuth piece of this. So if I jump back over the code, within our FusionAuth provider here, this is all you need. These are the different environment variables that we'll pull out from our different the issuer, the client ID, the client secret. These are all from that application that we saw within the FusionAuth instance. So we just have to provide those. Currently, I have them set in my environment.local. These are pre-canned from our example. So these values won't change. If you're in production, obviously you want to run this through like Vercel, you want to put it into your environment variables out there or AWS or wherever you might be hosting that from. Mark, your comment came through on LinkedIn. That's great. So it says change Kickstarter application name. Hashtag Hacktoberfest. Love it, Mark. Thanks for the comment out there. Okay, so with this route, this will provide me with all of the functionality to secure my application. So if I go up to the top level layout in the application that we have here, you'll see that within Next.js 13 and the app provider, we have this get server session. This will provide all of our session details and whether or not we want to show different pages or let you into different routes. So that provides all of the different application. And that's all going to be on the server side as well. So that's the other fantastic part. We can do the same sort of thing in SPA apps like Angular or Vue.js or React, just create a React app or anything like that. But I find it really cool that you can do this on the server side. So let me walk you through now just how to run this application. So if I just jump in and I do npm run dev, we get the old 3000 port out here. I'm going to pop that open. So you should see in the browser here, we have our blank slate change bank and it's looking for a login. Once I click login, what that's actually doing is going into that route and you can kind of see it up in the bar here. You see API auth sign in. So it hit that generic route and it could say sign into Apple, sign into Google, but the core one here for us, because FusionAuth can do all that for you, we can sign in with FusionAuth right here. Now we're just using the basic email and password here, but you could do passwordless, you could do magic link, you could do endless. Like we cover all the auth different auth flows, so it's really cool to get into. So I'm going to log in with my richerexample.com, and it's going to authenticate me on the FusionAuth side, and then come back into the application into the API route and say, here's my JOT, here's who this is, they're okay. And then we get the richerexample.com coming back in, and we can check out my account, which I'm broke apparently. I have $0. That's kind of a bummer. And then I'm going to make my change. So this is my make change part of the application. So $5.22 is 20 quarters, 2 dimes, 0 nickels, and 2 pennies. So that's kind of the very simple application, but what it does is provide you a pretty decent insight into how all of this works within FusionAuth, within the Next.js application. And again, to check this out fully, just go into our quick starts and you can see all the different quick starts that we have between Ruby and just straight JS, .NET, Go. We have our single page apps. Here's our mobile apps. There's more and more coming out all the time as we get these docs updated. So do I need to set up all those providers like Apple using nextauth.js? Great question, Mark. I tried to allude to this, but I don't think I did it well enough. So I'm going to do search. You know what? I'm going to show you something really cool. So we have this Ask AI button down here. I don't know if you can quite see it. Let me change this window dimension. I think I'm hiding on it. Okay, so this Ask AI right here, if you click this, I could actually ask, does FusionAuth provide Apple login? Let's see what it says. This is pretty sweet. If you haven't tried this out on our site yet, so we actually use this AI to input all of our like different documentation and stuff like that, and it will tell you exactly like what's happening and how to do it. We're just getting started with this too. I think we're going to be able to do a lot with this AI as it goes through. But so long story short, Mark, you can absolutely either use it and set all of those up, which are a huge pain, or within the FusionAuth system itself, you can do those. So let me go into not FusionAuth to localhost. I'm going to log back in with my admin account. Within here, if I go to applications and then I'll go into our application and edit it, I am in the wrong spot already. Sorry. It's in settings, identity providers. Here is all the different identity providers that we can actually add directly within the FusionAuth system. So the cool part and the great part about the question that Mark has here, do we need to do it within nextauth.js? No, we don't. So we can actually do that setup within FusionAuth, and then you can use that across all of your different applications, whether it's mobile or web or any of it. Great question. Is FusionAuth AI really Daniel DeGroff behind? I think it is. Yeah, I'm 90% positive that's correct. I just worry about how fast he can type to so many different people. That's a fun one. So if you haven't run into Robot Dan, definitely say hello to him, Daniel DeGroff. Cool. Well, that wraps up kind of the quickest tutorial you've probably ever seen on Next.js using FusionAuth. It's meant to go through all of our quick starts. You can dive deeper after that. Make sure if you have any questions, you can always go to our forum. So fusionauth.io/forum has a lot of answers for you. Outside of that, we also have our Slack. So if you have any questions in Slack, feel free to jump in. And of course, if you're paying for FusionAuth, you can also get your support from us directly in Slack. So thank you for joining our first town hall, and we'll see you next time.